Mike McLaughlin, once again, this time speaking about the bat program that I've been involved with under the Master Naturalist program. Bats typically come out, they start coming out after sunset. You might find a couple flying around prior to sunset, but they want it dusk, and then they start coming out and feeding, and easy to the sensors to pick up. So on that subject, all that's needed is not a full laptop. You don't need a full laptop, but just an iPad, and a sensor that fits into the port on the iPad, and of course there's software that is input, and that's all, and a tripod to put the iPad on, because you don't want to be holding it for the length of time that we normally hold it, which is 1 hour. When we start seeing bats, we start the clock, so to speak, and
so 1 hour.
It's 1 hour, solid hour, picking up.
Do you monitor here too?
Well, yes and no. I never really did it on a permanent basis. I came down, I was curious. I had the equipment, I was curious. I came down and set up and aimed that way toward the river one night. And then another time I came down and I oriented it toward the pond and the golf course here. Got pretty much the same bats, but species. So there's
and then you had a bat you introduced people to it also at a different time. You had a little event where you showed the residents.
I did.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Only once.
Did you have a good turnout?
Well, yeah, actually, I'm glad it was the turnout that it turned out to be, because 40 people showed up. Families, mainly, you know, the kids. And we set up on that little knoll behind you, actually, aimed that way. The high part of the knoll there. So I sat up there, and everybody brought their chairs and blankets, to sit down on. And I only did. There's still a few people monitoring bats at their homes, but it hasn't been the program that it was for about 3 years. And it possibly because obviously the data that we collect, we forward. It gets forwarded to the Bat Society. I'm not involved in that process, but yeah, we do it for a reason. And the main reason is, as you may have heard, there's a white nose bat problem that is killing, in particular, the small-eared bat. It's a cave dweller, and we don't really have any caves around close by, so we never got any smallmouth bats in any of the monitoring that we do around here. But it's that program that exists to try to collect data to reinforce what's going on with smallmouth bats. But at best we're just showing the society, the Bat Society, national, local, what we have here in the places that I was monitoring.
So it's another citizen science.
It's a citizen science program under the Master Naturalist program. What I wanted to, we typically get 6 species. We find 6 species, mostly anywhere we set up. So I just kind of named them here. The most predominant species is the big brown bat. It's a larger bat, and there's far more of them around here than these others. Then there's an eastern red bat, a hoary bat, with an H, hoary bat, a silver-haired bat, an evening bat, and a tricolored bat. Those are what you would expect to find when you're monitoring. So, but the height of my bat monitoring experience was putting. I also did a demonstration at Claude Moore last year, Claude Moore Park, taking the sensor there and showing what the bats they had, and they were similar to these.